Welcome to my channel. Today I'll be reading stories from different revenge subreddits. It should go from 0 to 100 in stories. Our first post is from Petty Revenge and it's posted by Puritary Harry. A quick cinema revenge. I read a story on here that reminded me of one of mine from many years back. A long time ago, I was at a cinema with friends. Not sure what we were watching, but it's not really important. At some point, a girl behind me put her feet up on the back of my chair, which is pretty rude on its own, but she's also kicking at times, which was really putting me off. I asked her if she could take her feet off my seat and was greeted with,
"If you don't like it, move to another seat."
Now, I already tried to ignore it and just let it slide, but once I heard those words, I saw red. "Move seat," she said. "Fine, I will." So I got up, left my friends, took off my shoes, sat behind her, and put my feet up. My feet were particularly smelly at this day as well, to the point of even starting to bother me. I kicked a bit as she had, and not long after she turned back to me to say,
"Are you serious?"
I answered in the same old-fashioned way she did to me. She got up with her friends and moved, and I joined my friends right after. Too long didn't read, don't be a grunt. This very much sounds like malicious compliance, but honestly, I don't really know the rules of petty revenge, so it's still very good. Our next post is from Pro Revenge, and it's posted by EagleEye295. Revenge for doing all the work. Hey guys, I'm Belgian, so English is not my native language. Some backstory to know. This is an old story. I was like 12 years old and I love creating games. Nothing impressive, things like Breakout, Pac-Man. The best game I made was a simple Pong with abilities and an impossible mode. But I love sharing it with my friends. Characters. The names have been changed. Duh. So, there's a bad teacher, bad group worker, and 1 and 2. So, onto the story. I was 12 and Stefan, the teacher, divided us into groups of 4 for a group project. I was paired with Hans, Karen, and Anna, who's a friend. Hans and Karen were brother and sister. However, me and Anna discovered that Karen and Hans were not going to help. They didn't respond to texts or messages through MSN, and in class they talked about their new toys or the Pokemon they caught on their Game Boys. I had Pokemon Blue and loved that game. They eventually said, just send us a text that we have to say during the presentation. Hindsight being is what I did to wait too long to complain to the teacher. I waited 2 weeks to talk to Mr. Stefan. Me and Anna both complained that Hans and Karen were not doing anything and that we would like to present as a duel instead. Stefan, however, thought it was unfair to split the group as the others would not have enough time to prepare their own presentations. So he told us that we had to present with 4 and he would score accordingly. Okay then. The week passes and presentation was on Wednesday. We present our project and did very well. We gave them the simplest lines to say and that was that. On Friday we received our points. Points were given after every presentation was given, and strangely, me and Anna received a 7 out of 10 and Hans and Karen received an 8. Oh, did I mention that Mr. Stefan was good friends with both Hans and Karen's parents? Yep, that's probably why. When we asked for clarification, got the Hans and Karen complaint that we deliberately gave them the easily/less important parts to present because they worked
Equally.
on the project. They deserved a higher grade. This pissed me off. Immediately, I thought of going to complain. Perhaps my parents would be able to do something. Or should I go straight to the school director? But then a light popped off in my head. They loved my previous game. Nothing much, just a maze game. And my next game was almost finished. Remember the Pong I talked about in the backstory? So I finished creating my game and created a separate game for Hans and Karen. In their games, I put an extra piece of code that simply created a file called stupidfile.txt in their app data folder. The file was 1 kilobyte big, but it kept creating so long the game was running, so you would have stupidfile1.txt, stupidfile2.txt, etc. I didn't expect this, but the game was a hit. There was an impossible mode that I created where the NPC was always able to dodge abilities and hit the ball. It was meant as a joke, but my friends would time how long they were able to survive against impossible mode. This included Hans and Karen, who to be fair, were not bad at it. Now, For the results everyone had been waiting for, we had to do a presentation about historic events outside Europe. To make it so that there would not be twice the same presentation, we would choose between several subjects given by the teacher. Not Mr. Stefan, as he taught French. Hans chose the American Civil War, Karen the Russian Revolution, and I chose the Warring State period of Japan. Hans and Karen were already complaining that their PC was getting slow and it was a nude one. Strangely enough, their drive was getting full fast. Any guesses why? But we all started on our assignments. Time comes to the presentation, and I see both Hans and Karen sweating bullets. The first day passes, and the teacher calls out Hans and Karen to present. We tried to get off it as they wanted to present last, but the teacher wouldn't budge. I can't remember what he said, but this is a good representation of his presentation. The colonials in America were unhappy with Britain's rule and revolted. The Americans won. His presentation lasted for less than a minute. Surprised, the teacher asked if Hans did any work. He sheepishly confessed that he didn't because his drive was full that weekend. He accidentally deleted the folder containing his and Karen's presentation and research, so they got nothing. Unfortunately, they had already used a similar excuse to get extra time for a history task and promptly got a 0 on their presentation. That combined with the fact that they were already barely passing history, their score dropped to a 3 out of 10, failing them completely. Now, about the Belgian school system. In Belgium, there are 2 mandatory schools, elementary school from 6-year-old to 12 years, and high school from 12-year-old to 18-year-old. So, pretty much grade 1 to 12, I believe. This was the first year of high school. We have divisions, ASO, which is more theory than practical. There was more preparation for university. TSO, which is a balance between theory and practical, still with an eye on the preparation for university. Lastly, we have BSO, which is more practical than theory. This was not in preparation for university, but more to directly start working. Because of the system in place where you failed an important class, you had to redo your whole year again, or drop down. So, Hans and Karen had the choice to redo ASO 1 completely or continue in TSO 2. So pretty much, so for any of my Canadian viewers, it pretty much means they're pretty much, 3 levels, and I believe it's academic, applied, and locally developed. That's pretty much their equivalents respectively. So, anyways, continue. So yeah, that's the revenge. Edit. Accidentally put director to school director, and I corrected it. Oh, okay, that doesn't really matter. Anyways, good revenge. Gee, imagine failing a school year because you were a douche to the person who was making your games. Ugh. Our next post is from Nuclear Revenge, and it's by Midnight Slayer 0372. He lied to me that he was divorced, so it destroyed his reputation, his marriage, and got him fired. Okay, so this is gonna be a long story, so bear with me. When I was a naive 24-year-old, I met a charming and very smart and way older man. We'll call him Jake for the story. His sister is Donna, and I'm Gina. Now, onto the story. Jake was 42, recently divorced, supposedly, and got a kid that he would see during the weekends. We meet online through a poetry website where the both of us used to write. He was very aloof and stern on his comments and not very popular on the website because he used to always come off like an arrogant prick, but I always liked his poems regardless of his personality, and that's how it began. I commented on one, and he instantly PM'd back praising my writing and asked if we could collaborate on a duet together. I already done it 1,000 times with a few friends and people on the site that I respected, so I said sure. Long story short, we met on Hotmail Messenger. This was nearly 11 years ago, kids, so no WhatsApp, although we did chat on Facebook too. This will become relevant later. Long story short, we instantly connected. He was funny, handsome, and really sweet underneath all his bravado, and his dark sense of humor was right up my alley. We spent months pulling all-nighters just talking and writing together. Not humble bragging, but I was pretty popular on the site because I won a few awards, so by association, he became popular too. People started reading Jake's poems and commented, and obviously got a huge head about it, but I digress. Our relationship became more serious after he confessed that he was falling for me and I was smitten, so I went along with it. We talked about my recent breakup, and he assured me that he would never lie to me because of the which of his ex-girlfriend cheated on him, and he was devastated until he met me. I was shocked for how bad his ex was, but assured him that I was all in and I meant it. One important detail about our turbulent romance is that he was in South America and I was in Italy, in my hometown. So almost 2 years of excuses for how he was tied up on work, I decided to surprise him with a visit. I bought my ticket and it was literally like a dream. He picked me up, we kissed, hugged, and he took me to his beach house, which would have been my first red flag, but I was dumb, young, and in love. Saying that it would be so much easier and fun for me to do touristy stuff on a beach port, saying that staying in his suburb with no car. Because I told him in such short notice that he didn't have time nor the means to take off, which of course is a lie because he was a partner of the company. But again, I bought it and went off. I went on my own for almost a whole week when I was there. He only spent one night with me, and the rest of the week just picked me up from whenever it was that I ended up wandering, and we hang out for a few hours, bang, and then he drops me off on the house. I know that most of you are thinking, come on OP, get your head out of your arse and realize what a bunch of BS that is. And believe me, writing this now, I realize how much of an idiot I was, but it gets better. The day before I get back to Italy, he took me to dinner with his 6-year-old and his sister. I was super happy to meet his family and son, but got caught off guard when he introduced me as his friend from Italy dropping on town for a tour. Her sister was super sweet, albeit a bit awkward, and his son was adorable. We ate, talked, and off we went. He picked me up first thing in the morning and dropped me off on the airport. Now that you got the full story, I'll get to the good part. 2 days later, and still a bit jet-lagged, I got a very interesting email from his sister, Donna. Oops, yeah, I messed that up. Anyways, her email was short and very simple.
Dear Gina, I know that you might think that I was weird and maybe a bit rude when we met, but it was only because I was being tricked by Jake to join the dinner with his kid. He never mentioned you guys were dating, but after confronting Jake, he confessed and begged not to tell anyone, or his marriage will be ruined. But you're such a sweet and young girl that doesn't deserve his deceit. Jake is still married and never left their home. Don't just take my word for it. Here are some pictures.
And she sends pictures of his real Facebook profile, and surprise, the perfect little family. I thanked her and shut down my computer. I was devastated. I really thought Jake was the love of my life and seriously considering moving there. I spent all night crying and drinking wine until I got myself the worst migraine. But the heartbreak lasted about 12 hours. At 4 a.m., I got up, showered, and made a pot of fresh coffee and started planning my revenge. I was hurt, yes, but also so angry that he not only deceived me, but dragged his sister and his innocent child in his life. I was on the other side of the world, and I didn't have the money to pay someone to kick his arse or egg his car. But as my Sicilian father would say to me, if someone slaps you, don't turn the other cheek. Cut off their effing hand. Oh no, so I did. Cue my sweet revenge. I sat down and turned on the computer and logged into his Hotmail. I didn't have the password, but I knew him well enough to know his 3 security questions on the section forgot password. 1, 2, 3, bum baby, and I'm in. And holy, this arrogant piece of human garbage was not only dating me, but 2 other girls. I quickly logged into his Facebook because he had everything linked. The naivety. So I quickly changed all his passwords to I'm a prick and discovered that his personal email was also connected to his work account. I dug through his emails for 2 hours. This guy never erased anything, so he had more than 5,000. Until I found something very interesting. The girls he was seeing in their very hot email exchanges. So what did I do? You guessed. I crafted very lengthy and explicit emails with pics and chat logs attached confessing to Jake's wife. posting as him obviously, begging for forgiveness and declaring how much of a douchey person I was, and as proof of my willingness to change and transparency was sending this email to the girls too. But that I only did it because I was a closeted gay and thought that being a player would help me forget how much I really loved guys. But I was sick of pretending and hoped she could move on and maybe be friends. But not only to them, I effing copied his entire list of contacts, including the CEO and partners of the company he worked, his parents, and Donna, of course. This email was perfection. All the pictures and chats, myself included, he never ever exchanged with any other woman. I copied myself on the list, obviously, as a countermeasure, and moved on to part 2 of this plan. I changed all of his Facebook and declaring that I was so relieved that people finally knew who I was. The pride flag and his new wall picture and his profile picture was a photoshopped picture of 2 guys kissing. I created 5 different accounts on gay websites, all with his information, including his phone number, and started to chat with a bunch of gays until out of nowhere, this guy sent me better yet, he sent Jake a message. Tony was his old university friend that he had always been secretly lusting for him for years, and although I felt bad for this later, I set up a date. Oh no. Part 3 of my plan. 1 week after this massive internet blowout and his family and friends angrily calling him all sorts of names and getting fired because his boss didn't want the bad press. So Drake, trying to make amends with his friends and family, made a BBQ for his birthday. But I would have paid 1 year's worth of salary just to see his face and his guests when in the middle of their celebration, Tony appeared with a bottle of champagne and a bag full of lube and toys to celebrate privately as I asked. Apparently, oh no, there was a huge fight and everyone left Jake flustered and angry, crying because some psycho wanted to ruin his life. I blocked him and forgot about everything until 6 months ago when he, out of the blue, sent me a message on Instagram asking me why I disappeared and I didn't support him when he was on his lowest. And oh boy, the satisfaction when I only replied back, "Sorry Jake, but I think everything you got was karma for all the lies and time wasted you fed me. Good luck. Oh, and by the way, it was always me, winky face." Then I blocked him and made my account private. Jake tried to call a few mutual friends and tried to get them to give him my number, but they ignored him. They also got the infamous email. So yeah, I got my revenge and it was worth every single hour. I know, I'm pretty effing petty. And for those who think making him appear gay was wrong of me, let me tell you that it was only because of his his attitude and homophobic personality, and sadly for most Latin males, there's nothing worse than gay people. I am 100% with the LGBTQ plus community and support and love them dearly. Oh no, this is so many edits. Wow, okay, let me clarify. So other people in the back can put down the pitchforks. I never outed Tony. He was very much outside the closet since he was 12 years old, and on said barbecue, he was never beaten, abused, or in danger. The blowout and the fight was Jake's family and friends blowing up at him. Tony left safely as soon as he realized the setup. 11 years later, he's happily married and with a beautiful child and lives in Europe. Can't say which country, but just know he's happy and we're still Facebook friends. I apologized to him a few weeks after the barbecue. Although he was hurt, he forgave me and even laughed at all the things I showed him. 3 and last, I acknowledged that I wasn't much better than what he did to me. I was selfish, reckless, and stupid. And I did feel bad for it, and actually, after all that blown, I reached to Tony and apologized to him for dragging him on my petty revenge. Bro, that's not petty revenge. He was upset, but after hearing my side, he was glad I did. He only wished I was upfront with him. We didn't end up like BFF, but he was still my friend on Facebook and always sent me updates on his life. Just to clarify, I'm half Italian, half Latina. That's why I'm both fluent in Spanish and Italian. We met in Spanish poetry website, and the mutual friend I talked about are a few friends that lived in South America and wrote on the site with us. I seriously didn't think this would blow up like it did so. I'm not responding anymore, only saying that this is a memory from one of the most painful times in my life, so it's not fiction, not BS or karma, or nothing. This is a memory from a person I'm not anymore. Thanks for reading and peace. Holy. Jeez, this is... Oh my gosh. I don't even know how to respond to this. Oh no, this is just... Okay, anyways. Thank you all so much for watching this video. That was very painful to read because it was so long, but... Ooh. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching. Please like and subscribe,